Welcome to the Accounting Prose Accountant Show. Here to teach you about your books.
Most fitness studio owners love to focus on sales and marketing. Why? Because it's sexy. What they really should also be focusing on is their money, the financials, and really understanding how to run the financial statements within their business.
Making money is not a bad thing. It's your duty to support yourself. If you can't support yourself, then you're not going to be able to continue on with the business at all.
And today, I'm going to be sitting down with an expert to walk you down step by step on exactly how you should be managing your money at your fitness studio and exactly what each stage means.
That's how you make accounting sexy, man.
Does bookkeeping and payroll make your head spin? Why waste time trudging through debits and credits when you can be closing deals and improving the lives of your clients? Give Accounting Pros a call to learn about how they can take the accounting busy work off your plate and help take your fitness business to the next level. Schedule a free consultation at accountingprospromo.com. And Accounting Pros, Prose is spelled Prose. So accountingprospromo.com. And as an added bonus, all Loudmore clients get 20% off their first invoice. Again, that's accountingprospromo.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the GSD Show. I'm Mike Garza, and today I've got Tina Garza. Tina, what up? Welcome to the show. So before the cameras were rolling, we were having a little fun because we realized we sound like real professional radio people with the headset and the mic.
It's true.
Right? So I want to hear, because you're our bookkeeper and you are incredible. You work with a bunch of fitness studios. We actually had you speak at our conference. You literally put a ton of training together for our fitness studio business training modules that we have in LRVT, because you understand the space very, very well. But you are a bookkeeper, you're an accountant at heart.
Yeah.
And so when you put the headset on, I was pretending to be
Marvin Gaye.
I was like, hello, welcome to Mike After Dark. And then what was your show?
Welcome to the Accounting Prose Accountant Show. Here to teach you about your books. Very exciting stuff.
And we are. But here's the thing. You're right. That's how most accountants and bookkeepers speak, but you do not. And that's actually why I like working with you, because I lost my mind talking to the other people. And I actually enjoy talking to you and your team. So you're awesome. For the people that haven't seen content with you and I in the past, you came in after I fired 3 bookkeepers in 3 years, and I was like, I can't deal with it anymore. I was recommended to you by like 3 or 4 different people. And then I understand why I've recommended you to a bunch of people since then. And so I get it. So today we're going to be talking a lot about really understanding how to master the money game in the fitness studio space, because fitness studios are struggling right now on the money side. And I think they don't even know that that's what's holding them back. I think they blame it on other things, right? The market, everything's saturated. I need more sales, or I wish my employees worked harder. And granted, those are all things that could and should make a difference if they were better. But at the end of the day, money is a big problem. And what was your ratio? How many businesses fail in 5 years?
So it should be 50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Within the first 5 years.
Yeah, which is incredible. Yeah.
So what are the biggest problems in the fitness studio space? Like if I'm the average fitness studio, what is my biggest problem?
Okay, well, there's a really low barrier to entry in getting into a small business. It doesn't matter if it's fitness or anything else, but a lot of times people start because they have a really good idea, they feel super passionate about fitness, but when they actually open the doors, they don't have any of the financial knowledge to back it up or operational knowledge. Mm-hmm. And that's really the big thing that really messes people up, is they're looking at the wrong information. So when you get clients in the door, you're thinking, oh, I'm making money now, I can pay myself, or I can pay my people. But they don't spend time thinking about the ratios behind it, whether or not, is that money actually working for them, or are they spending too much money in one area of the business? Also, not keeping your financials up to date means that they have really no ability to get access to capital, because if you walk into a bank with a great idea but nothing backing it up, you'll never get any money to keep it going. And so the finances really, really harm people if they don't have that education.
Well, and here's why. And for everyone listening right now, if anyone's listening going, oh, great, it's not a marketing or sales thing, and they get bummed out because, let's face it, marketing and sales is what's sexy.
Yeah.
That's why there's a ton of marketing conferences, there's a ton of sales conferences. There's very, very few customer service conferences. I never heard of one. I haven't heard of a finance for small business conference. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know anyone that goes to them.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't sell. because people don't want it. It's not as sexy.
It's not sexy, and I think that if you don't feel confident in your financials, you're going to have a lot of fear, and opening up and talking to somebody about that is a challenge. You don't want people to know that you don't know what you're doing. You don't want to look foolish. So people just push, kick the can down the road, and then they're part of that, 50% of businesses that fail because they didn't spend the time on it.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because most entrepreneurs, small business owners, they either are addicted to or at one point binge watch through or love watching the Shark Tank or Profit or any of those shows. And what do they always want to know?
The numbers.
The numbers. Yeah. No matter what, they want to know the numbers. They want to know everything about your business because that is the teller, right, of what's going on. And a lot of people think people invest in the entrepreneur. They don't invest in the entrepreneur. They invest in the business and the entrepreneur's ability to build a system. If that entrepreneur is just a technician, he's just really, really good at, let's say, fitness and understanding the fitness game, that's a guy I want to hire as my top employee,
right.
But that's not the guy I'm going to invest money into. The reason I want to invest money into him is because I don't think he really knows how to run a business well. So whether or not you're looking for investors or not, it's a bad sign that investors won't invest in you because that means you're not running your business well because you don't know your numbers and all the things that are revolving around it. So in this episode, guys, what I want to accomplish is I want you to realize how important money is, and now that you have connected the dots, wow, those Shark Tank guys do ask for numbers every single time. The Profit does ask for numbers every single time. They want to know everything. And when you look at the most successful entrepreneurs out there, they really understand their financials very, very well. They know their numbers. Mm-hmm. So I want everyone listening, I want everyone watching to get excited because for the first time ever, you are going to love numbers because we're going to go down metrics that you have from tons of different studios and what the bars are, where people should be, where they shouldn't be, how much should they be spending on this and on that, and really helping them understand how they can get to these numbers themselves so that they can start really appreciating this part of their business, putting it to good use, like you said, getting their money to work for them, and then actually growing their business the way an entrepreneur does, not a high-level employee.
That's how you make accounting sexy, man.
Boom. Boom.
Drop the mic.
Okay.
You're ridiculous.
Right. So let's get going. Okay, so yes, they do focus on the wrong things. You also mentioned they don't focus on ratios and stuff like that. So I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about, you said, they're not really paying themselves the way they should be paying themselves. I want to dive into that. I also want to dive into staffing improperly, what that means, time management, and how that can actually be costly. Retention rate, I want to dive into that. I want to dive into net member growth, like what good numbers are for that, marketing budget, salary cap. I want to dive into all these things so by the time we are done, that person goes, that was the absolute most I've ever learned about financials in the fitness studio space ever on the planet. Deal?
Awesome, deal.
All right, let's dive in. So you said people aren't focusing on ratios.
Right.
So what do you mean by that?
So a lot of times when people have income coming in, they focus on the big, sexy top line number. So they say, oh, I made $1 million. I'm doing really, really well. Mm-hmm. But they're not looking at things like gross profit margin, net profit margin. They're not paying attention to, what percentage they're paying themselves or employees. And that really gets them into trouble because it's a really myopic view. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that is kind of coupled with using your checkbook as a way to run the business. Like, I have money in the bank, therefore I'm doing well.
What's that called? That's called bank...
checkbook accounting, essentially.
Checkbook accounting or something.
Yeah, so you say, I've got a big, sexy number, I make $1 million, I have X amount of dollars in the bank, therefore everything is great. But that doesn't actually tell you really anything about the business except those two numbers. Mm-hmm. And if you're not looking at profitability over time, you're not comparing your results over time, you don't actually get to see trends. You don't see if things are going up, going down, stagnating, and that really makes you shoot yourself in the foot essentially mm-hmm. because you're flying blindly at that point.
Right. Knowing the revenue numbers and the cash you have on hand, I mean, to me, that's like a sports team just knowing their score.
Right.
Like, wow, we have 120 points. Cool. We're doing great. And then the opponent's got 142. Yeah. And you're getting destroyed, actually.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I get that. So talk to me about some ratios. Like, what are some things that if I'm a fitness studio, what should I be paying attention to, and how do I get to those numbers?
Sure. So whenever you're looking at some really basic ratios, an important one would be gross profit margin. So gross profit margin is calculated by taking your gross revenue, and then you take out your cost of goods sold, or COGS, so whatever it actually takes to run the business, and that gives you that number. So let's
when you say gross revenue, net revenue, what's the
gross
difference?
revenue is the money that's coming in, not the money that's left over. So it's
Got it.
money people are handing you and putting in the bank.
Yep.
So let's say that you make $100 and you spend $20, then you have $80 in gross profit. So essentially, you're spending 20% of your income to generate that profit, and that's a really healthy number. When things go wrong is when you're spending way too much money on your cost of goods sold or cost of sales, so
or
anything
COGS,
COGS,
right?
whatever
Yep.
it takes to drive the revenue, and now your gross profit's a lot less than you expected. However, if you've not used an accounting software or an accountant to help kind of find those numbers out, you'll never know whether or not your gross profit margin is low.
Because a lot of people aren't even categorizing things properly.
Right.
So you got your revenue, that's everything that's coming in.
Yep.
And then you have your cost of goods sold, which is different than your operating expenses.
Exactly.
Right? So your cost of goods sold is, what does it cost me to actually create and deliver these products?
Right. And then you actually need to take it a step further, though, because I don't want to, if I'm a business, I'm a gym, and I have membership income, and I have supplement sales, and I have a payroll sales, and I have all these kind of different things that I need to be tracking. If I'm dumping everything into sales, and all my cost of goods sold are dumping straight into COGS, I can't extrapolate, is my apparel, am I losing money on apparel, or is it not trending like I want it to be? So you really need to have a lot more detail in order to really understand the performance of the different, profit centers or areas of your business.
Like with our business, we have like every type of income that we have broken up in different lines.
Yeah.
We have every type of expense broken up in different lines, and then we can categorize those together.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. So your cost of goods sold is what it costs to deliver this product, right, or this service, and then you have your operating expenses. Your operating expenses are made up of what?
Operating expenses are things that you're going to need to pay for regardless of whether or not you're generating revenue. So you're going to need to pay rent no matter what. You're going to need to put your lights on. You're going to have to buy office
Whether you
supplies.
sold stuff or not.
Exactly, yeah. So it's stuff that might vary in cost, but you're going to have them month over month. And so the big categories would be around like administrative and just keeping the lights on. And I think a lot of times when people are going out and spending money at Target or Costco or whatever, they're not really thinking, does this fit in my budget? Because you've never broken it out or even spent the time to understand what's reasonable to spend in that area of your business.
Right. And then when you take your revenue and you subtract your cost of goods sold and your operating expenses, now that's everything. Now you have your net profit.
Yep, your net profit. That's exactly right.
What's a healthy net profit for a fitness studio, like percentage-wise?
15% is a really healthy net profit.
So if you bring in $50K a month, you want to be able to bring in about $7,500 per month in overall profit. Net profit. That's
true, and I'm going to say that's a good baseline. But if you can get higher than that, then you're doing well. A lot of times, people, you might track 12% one month, you might track 20% the next month. But as long as you're in that range, you're good. And that number is definitely going to go down if you're doing ththings like investing in different areas of your business. So I wouldn't freak out if you're, hiring people like a sales manager or somebody who's not directly going out and earning you revenue.
Or you're investing in a bunch of equipment.
Yeah, things like that. Like you're going out and buying new computers or
expansion,
advertising, things like that. Those are going to affect your revenue positively in the future, but it's going to make you look like things aren't going so well this month. So as long as there's a plan and you're not just overspending just because you're not paying attention to it, then I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, so for us, we aim for about 20%
That's great.
net profit.
Yeah.
And if we can get more, we get more, which is
Right.
great, but we need to get at least 20%. But it's definitely not per month. It's by the end of the year.
Yeah.
We want to close out at that because the 2 months leading up to GSDCON, we lost money. We were
Sure.
negative net profit.
Yeah.
But we were spending a ton of money on AV and the venue and catering and all that stuff. But then the month after GSDCon, all those expenses went away, and we had a bunch of income that came from GSDCon,
Yeah.
and our net profit made up for those 2 months and the future months.
Yeah.
So
but you
that's
had that vision, and I think that's a difference between you and a lot of other business owners is you go into that spending knowing that what the result is going to be. A lot of times people are just shooting, just deciding, I'm going to spend money here, spend money there, but they're not thinking, is this going to earn me something later?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you really have to be focused and understand what the effect of that spend is.
Okay, cool. So let's break up this profit and loss statement or income statement, same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So whether you guys listening in call it income statement or P&L or profit and loss, same thing.
Yeah.
So with our income statement here, or financial statement, that's another thing, right? Well, that includes your balance sheet as well,
financial
correct?
statements like the umbrella for everything that kind of goes under it. So you've got balance sheet, profit and loss, which can also be called income statement, statement of cash flows. There's a million that go under there.
Right. Okay, cool. So when you're looking at your income statement, now let's set it up. So we know that net profit, we want to be right around 15%. If we can get more, even better.
Yeah.
Okay. Gross profit, what kind of percentage are we looking to get?
So you're going to spend 20% of your revenue on COGS, so it would be 80% gross profit.
Okay, so after you spend your cost of goods sold, you should have 80% left over. And then once you spend everything, including your operating expenses, your rent, everything, 15% left over. Anything more than that is great. Okay, awesome. Why is that important?
Why is net profit important?
Why is 15%? Why not 10? Why not 12?
Well, you really need to have some extra money sitting around to be able to invest in the business in the future. So if you have nothing left over, you'll never be able to hire proactively rather than reactively. You won't be able to make improvements to your space because you won't have cash available. You won't be able to pay officers or owners of the business. And depending on your structure, you'll get paid in different ways.
Or protect yourself if something happens.
Protect yourself, yeah, for sure. You need to make sure that you've got something set aside. And I mean, a small business is a huge investment of time and resources. And it also, if your business doesn't do well, if you're one of those 50% that fail, then you're going to let a ton of people down who have to go and find new work. So you need to really make sure that you're setting yourself up for success by having that money set aside, like a cushion, for the business.
When it comes to your employees' pay, when it comes to your pay, what should the CEO get paid? And that may change depending on how big or small their business is, right? But how should a CEO be paid? And then also, how should the overall salary cap for all the employees beneath the CEO that's working for the CEO be factored?
Sure. So CEO should really be paid 15% of gross revenue. And that can change from month over month. Maybe 1 month you need to take your pay back down a
so
grade.
You need to have a 15% net profit after paying the CEO 15%.
Yes, exactly. So that's how we built it. I built that into our profit. I want to make sure that I'm paid, because if I'm not paid, then I'm not able to pay my bills and the business doesn't go on. I think a lot of times people forget or pay themselves last. I pay myself first because I want to make sure that I can keep employing all the people at Accounting Pros.
Right.
So you need to pay yourself about 15%. Then again, if you need to invest in other areas of your business, you can always scale it back. You can scale it up, but that's a good point. For your employees, 20% is pretty average. And this information comes from a few different places. So URSA and BizMiner, and there's some ratios done by Zen Planner, and there's kind of a range. I see anywhere from 20 to 45%, but I think 20-25% is probably a good place to be, because then you have more money left over to pay yourself, more money to pay.
20 to 25% is hard, especially in the beginning.
It's really, really hard. Yeah, and you're going to invest.
Or in growth mode.
If you're in growth mode, that number's going to go up.
Yeah.
So take this with a grain of salt. All businesses are not the same, but generally speaking, 20-25% is a good thing to shoot for.
So if the business is doing $100K, having a $25,000 budget for salary.
Right, exactly.
Now, salary, that includes payroll taxes. Which is typically going to be about how much?
15% is a good.
So if you're already paying $20,000 in salary, every employee that you're paying actually costs you 15% more than they're even collecting from you.
Right, and a lot of times whenever I'm working with fitness studios, they kind of decide that somebody's going to be a contractor versus an employee, and that can get you in a whole heap of trouble. Just because if you don't pay them as an employee, then you can avoid payroll taxes. So you're not paying in to Social Security, Medicare, things like that. And if you get in trouble with that with the IRS, they will go back and collect all of the employer and the employee tax back to the point in which you hired them, and will penalize you from that point forward.
And
so
the penalties are not cheap.
They're crazy, yeah. And so sometimes you can go back 2 years, even longer. And then that normally happens because it's getting kicked off by a labor, like they're going out and trying to get unemployment insurance, and they realize they're not really an employee, which kicks off so many other audits. So if you're considering not putting somebody on a W-2 or as an employee to get away from paying those payroll taxes, you'll end up paying for it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. So please don't do that.
Yeah, we've never even played with those waters, and we could. And in the agency world, it's
for sure.
totally common as well. And we just never did it. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we are in growth mode. I know my salary right now, I think is above 50% of our revenue, but we have right now we have the ability to handle twice as much business as we have, and we're ready to turn on the floodgates.
Sure.
So in that case, as long as, and by the way, we're not 50% of salary cap with no money in savings. We got to a point where we had plenty of money in savings, and so for us, we're like, what do we do with this extra amount of money that we've been able to save up over the last 2-3 years? And so for me, it's even if we don't have that net profit left over, it's okay. This is to me, it's an investment in the business.
Sure. And one other thing to note is Zen Planners did this pretty exhaustive study on boutique fitness studios, and they actually found that the businesses that spent more money on payroll, so paid their employees more money per hour, actually were more successful than people who were hiring lower wage employees.
Of course.
I'd rather hire one really amazing person and rather than have two mediocre people at a lower rate. So you really need to also plan who you need to hire, what their role is going to be, and make sure that you're getting the right person. It's so expensive to hire the wrong person.
Absolutely. There was actually a GSD Bite episode that I just released, like 3 weeks ago, something like that, and it said expensive employees are actually cheaper. But it's true because, you take an employee that they're going to cost you a lot more, but they generate results.
Yeah. The lead time to get them out and doing real work is a lot shorter. Yeah.
And you're not spending your time dealing with them, having to have these meetings over and over to get them to a right place, and everyone around them isn't really elevated either. So yeah, we definitely spend. I know that we spend probably 20 to 25% more on our salary than probably anybody else that's running an agency, but
we have amazing people.
We've got rock star people, right? And we're growing, so that it all kind of comes together. Yeah. Another thing we always talk about too is stealing. Like, sometimes the best employees aren't looking for a job.
Yeah.
And we hear people say stuff like, oh, I'd rather hire somebody for character over skill, but sometimes it's not an option. Sometimes you can hire for both.
Yeah.
And it's just those people that have character and skill are usually working somewhere very well.
Yes.
So usually the people that are available that are looking for a job either lack character or skill.
Yeah.
So if you want to get both, don't wait for Indeed to spit out some really great people. In the meantime, go recruit. The guy that we just hired as our VP of sales, I've been courting that guy for like almost a year.
Yeah.
And the guy that we have coming in to help out with LRVT, I've been courting him for like 7 months.
Yeah.
And Cristina, the girl that just started running as a coordinator for LRVT, I've been courting her for 2 years since she was an intern with us. She just graduated college. She got a job here. So continue to know that these people that have good skill and good character, you're going to have to pull them away from what they're doing and draw them in, because they're not going to be like looking around hoping somebody hires them one day. They're hireable.
And it doesn't just stop there too. I think you really need to spend a lot of time investing in their internal education, so giving them the skills to be really successful. So making sure that they know everything that they need to know and more of how to run the business, how to be in the business, because I think a lot of times people hire and they're like, well, figure it out. Like, go do this work now. And the person's like, well, what do I do?
Well, what's that quote? It was like the CFO said, what if we invest in our people and they leave? And then the CEO says, what if we don't and they stay?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's break up that P&L even more, that income statement even more. Okay, so we understand what I should be paid. Now, by the way, as a CEO, when you say, 15%, does that include, anything else that might be coming along with that in regards to like
that don't normally
benefits
inclusive
or anything like that?
Benefits like health insurance, use of car, things like that. That's all going to be wrapped in
so
there.
like the car that's wrapped in, all that stuff's included in there.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
makes sense.
I do need to make sure that everybody hears this loud and clear. If you're an LLC, not taxed as an S-Corp, you're just a single prop LLC, multi-member LLC. That's the normal way that people start their business and run it for a while. You do not put yourself on payroll because that's not allowed. You have to wait until you're an S-Corp or a C-Corp. Otherwise the IRS is going to be real mad at you. So.
Yeah, we started as an LLC and then we moved we're still an LLC, but
you just get taxed differently.
Taxed as an S-Corp.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that really quick. There's S-Corp and then there's C-Corp. Yeah. What's the difference between the two, and why would I not move into C-Corp?
Most of the time, people are going to start off as an LLC, a single member LLC, multi-member LLC, and it kind of operates almost like a sole prop, where the money, you just move the money the same way. So you move money from the business to personal, and that's pretty much it. The main difference with the LLC and the sole prop is you get additional liability kind of protection from it, as long as you're running it like a business. So you're not spending, for personal things out of the LLC bank account. You're going to be protected. And I think that's a really great place to start, because you're kind of in a high risk business with fitness. If somebody breaks a leg or hurts himself, you don't want them to go after your personal assets, take your cars and house. So having that protection is great. The S corporation is just kind of tax on to the LLC, in that it's just a way that you're taxed. But things kind of still flow in the same way to your tax return. So you and the business are completely one and the same. Any of the profit of the business goes onto your personal tax return, just on an extra schedule. And with the S corporation, you can join the employee benefit programs, like pay yourself with a simple IRA or SEP IRA. So that's cool for extra money in retirement. You also get to pay yourself as a W-2 employee, so you're paying taxes into the system against your personal tax return, which is kind of cool. And then you get to take that as a write-off, which is also great. The only difference really with the C corporation is that it's a completely separate entity outside of yourself. So S corporation, you're getting taxed personally. C corporation, it's taxed on its own.
So all the liabilities, so they can't come after you ever. They would only go after the business.
So
right?
as long as you have an LLC or S corp, C corp, they can only go after the business as long as you have treated it like a business. And that's really what's called piercing the corporate veil.
Well, that's with the LLC and the S corp, but with the C corp,
C corp is
they go after the business.
It's only, and so
not after the person.
Not after the person,
right.
Exactly. And with the C corporation, you can have different kinds of investors come in. You can have foreign investors, which you can't have in other like S corp, LLC. And it's completely taxed on its own. So that's actually a write-off to the business, what the taxes. As an S corp or LLC, you're paying the taxes personally, and it's not a business expense. So, but there's also more rules and regulations around it. And I don't really recommend the C corporation unless you're going after, equity investors.
As a fitness studio owner, no.
It's not
you
really.
Stay as an S corp.
S corp is probably the max that you want to go towards.
Okay, awesome. What do you recommend? What do you say to the entrepreneur that thinks he's being humble by saying, "Oh, I don't need any money. I'm not going to take any of that because I'm just going to go ahead and I want to put into the business and grow the business."
You're crazy and you're doing it wrong.
Why is that?
Well, if you're not paying yourself, like how are you going to survive long enough in order to make the business successful? You need to be. Being prosperous is not a bad thing. Making money is not a bad thing. I think people think like, oh, if I'm making money, I'm a bad person, or I'm greedy. Yeah, and you're definitely not. It's your duty to support yourself. If you can't support yourself, then you're not going to be able to continue on with the business at all.
You can't say you're a successful business owner if you're not personally successful.
Yeah.
And the business continues to need you in it.
Right.
Right. The business needs to be able to run and grow without you in it. Otherwise, you didn't create a good business. You just created some good skill around you. And as long as you're injected into the business can see some sparks and some growth. But if you can take yourself out and a business can still grow, you've now built a good business.
Right, and I think that's the trap too, is being in the business versus being a business owner or working on the business. I meet a lot of people who are really great technicians, so they're great at what they do, but they can't ever step back and allow the business to run on its own. And if you can't do that, you're going to have to work 24/7 for the rest of your life. You just created a really intense job that you have no way of getting out of.
Right. Right, and people can leave you.
Yeah.
At any point.
Yeah, and you really need to be able to you need systems in place, you need everything in order to be able to step away, because recharging, going out and recharging your batteries will help the business grow. If you're just stuck in it every single day, you're only looking down, you're so myopic, and you're never going to be able to actually see like really good growth.
What's your thought process around a marketing budget? Like how do you believe in a marketing budget?
Oh my God, yes.
Yes? Okay. Because I have my own philosophy on a marketing budget, but I want to hear yours first.
So I think a lot of times a marketing budget is normally pushed aside, just because it doesn't seem like a good investment, but it really is. I talked about this at GSDCON, where your marketing budget is almost like a magical ATM. If you know that you can put X amount of dollars in and get Y out, you would just keep putting all that money in to get the return. The problem with that return is if you're putting money in, getting money out, meaning you're getting clients, but you're losing them, you're not serving them right, you have a huge attrition rate, well then you're shooting yourself in the foot anyway. But I think you need to have a team behind you, or you need to be really well versed in how do I spend my money? Am I able to get business in? Like, is it actually working for me? And creating some tracking mechanisms around it. Because if you're just kind of shooting blindly, saying, I'm going to put money here and there, that's not doing you any good.
Yeah. When it comes to marketing budget, like the way I look at it here at Loudrumor, I don't say, okay, how much should I spend or how much do I want to spend? I answer all the questions you just said, right? Like, do I know how I can get money back?
Yeah. How much do I want to earn?
How much do I want to earn is what I care.
Yeah.
So the question is not how much can I afford, it's how much can I handle.
Right, exactly.
So right now, our marketing budget's, it's not even a budget. How much we spend in marketing is $3,000 a month. We could be spending way more, like literally 20x that every month, more than that, but we're not. And it's not because I don't have the money, or it's not because I don't want to make the money. It's because I don't have the capacity. We just got off a 60-day wait list. We're at a 30-day wait list right now. We got 40 people on that wait list.
I love that.
Which is cool, and it sounds cool to say, but it's really not cool to say because that's cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Having 40 people on a 60-day wait list, that's 40 people on that's 80 payments I did not collect.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
But if you serve those 80 clients poorly, then
you lose.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So for us, I'm not spending money in marketing because I can't handle it. There's people that can handle more business and don't spend it because they're stay within a budget. In my head, it's like, can you handle double that? Then double it.
Yeah.
So we just quick question or a quick comment of what happened just now in a meeting with Rob. This happened yesterday. We were talking about me getting all the different fitness studio franchisors at this exclusive event that we'll have on day 3 at GSDCON. It'll be badass. We'll pay for them to fly out first class. We'll put them up in a hotel. We'll make this really, really cool. So it's just a great experience for them. They're glad they came. They networked with the right people. Yeah. Right? And he goes, how much would that cost? I'm like, probably costs about $3,000 a person.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, gosh, that'd be cool to get them all in the same room. I said, it would be very cool to get them all in the same room, especially with franchisors we work with that love us.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, if we get like 20 people there, that could be really expensive. And I go, yeah, 20 people, that'll cost about $60,000. And he goes, do we want to put a cap on this? And immediately I said, you put a cap on my profits? Right. Why do you want to put a cap on it?
I think that's just a different mindset, though. I think
he's supposed to think that way.
Yeah, so he's going to keep you in check, but you've got a vision that you know that those people that are going to be in the room are going to talk about you, are going to influence and bring other people to you, and so you have different perspectives.
One franchise alone brings us in over $150,000 a month.
Yeah.
So if now I got 30 in a room or 20 in a room, and you're going to tell me I can't bring in 31?
Right.
Or 32?
No, this is the account speak.
No, you can only bring 30 in here.
We can only afford
30.
26 people.
Yeah. So, but I think that's just the difference of understanding, the way I look at it. I don't look at marketing as what can I afford. I look at it as, and of course, if it's crazy expensive, a different story. But like in a reasonable sense, it's not what can I afford. It's how much can I handle. If I can handle 10 more leads a day, what's that going to cost me? Let's spend that. Like, what are we doing? Why are we not spending it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about rent? How much do you think rent should be when it comes to revenue? Like, how much of your rent should you spend in revenue and all that?
So there are different numbers for rent depending on what report you look at. If you're looking,
it looks like you have a bunch of numbers.
I have
there.
a bunch of numbers.
Why don't you just read off a bunch of metrics that I should be paying attention to from a studio?
For sure. So according to URSA, 8.1% is what you should be spending on rent. But BizMiner, which takes all the tax return information for all the fitness studios across the country, they're a little bit lower. They're at 7%. But
8.1% of your revenue on rent?
8.1%.
Now that means if you're at capacity.
Yeah.
Because if you're, let's say, the average studio is only doing like, what was the revenue? Like 25, 30K?
The average fitness studio?
Yeah, per month?
That's pretty average,
25, 30K. So 8% on rent, you're talking less than like almost $2,000.
And depending on your market, it could be higher, it could be lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're at capacity, like we got some studios that are doing, small studios, like I'm talking 2,200 square feet that are doing 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Right? Per year.
Right.
So you're talking about like, what is that, 100 some a month?
So
for them, they can afford an $8,000 rent. So when you say 8.1%, are you saying like if we're at capacity?
If you're at capacity. And Zen Planner actually has it a lot higher. So that's what I was going to bring up. They say that their companies that thrive are at 10%, and their small studios are up to, medium studios are at 20%. So it's a pretty big range.
Yeah.
And
20%'s high.
It's really, really high. I would not want to spend that kind of money on rent.
Yeah.
No way, Jose.
No way.
But if you are,
unless you're in growth mode and you just opened, you got like 18 members. But
and if you do have a pretty high rent, like you're in a really high, cost of living area like LA, you need to find other ways to use your space more effectively. So you need to be selling supplements, you need to have nutritional counseling, you need to have apparel, you need to upsell.
Sales.
Yeah, otherwise, like you're not going to make it.
Okay, what else you got there?
Okay, let's see. So I've got real estate taxes, 2.3%. Utilities.
I'm willing to bet
Yeah,
that most people listening or watching right now have no idea what they're paying in real estate taxes.
I know. Nobody pays attention to that stuff.
I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like an idiot.
Utilities, 5.2%. Insurance, 1.4%. I keep running these off. Repairs and maintenance, 3.9%.
Repairs and maintenance. That means if they're earning $50,000, let's say $100,000 a month, they should only spend $3,900 a month in repairs.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I don't think that people really spend that much money.
No,
on
because some months you may
repairs,
not go really more than a couple
Yeah.
$100, and then you have.
though. You might have a big repair, like you've got to do like additional build out or something like
I think
that. but-
upgrades.
Yeah, upgrades.
Yeah, because they get all excited. They're like, "Look at this new equipment," and then they start getting some new stuff they don't necessarily need right now. Or
Right.
Okay.
Let's see. I've got some revenue numbers, which are always really sexy.
Yep.
So revenue per member for all studios, whether you're multi-studio, fitness, chain, or independent, $764 per member.
So $764 total lifetime customer value, not per month.
That's per. It should be per year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Okay, so $764 per year.
And I
which
gotta
is,
tell you, like boutique memberships are going to be way, way more than that. Like
So
if you're
what
going
is
to like
this?
an Orange, this is from Ursa, so they're just taking like
everything.
everything, yeah. And
Yeah,
then
boutique's going to be a lot higher.
it's going to be definitely a lot higher. I mean, at Orange Theory, I spend $159 a month. I mean, you do that by 12, and it's way more than
Yeah.
$764.
Yeah, you're almost at $2,000 with upsells.
Oh my god! And all my
upsells.
cancellation fees because I sleep in. You know.
It's like $10 every time,
Oh my,
right?
it's 12.
12? 12
yeah.
in Colorado. It's at 10 in Arizona.
It's so much money. Yeah, well, they're making bank on me sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends on the month.
but
It's
that's a way to
January.
just make more money, right? Like
Yeah,
they're
towel
doing it.
rentals. Like you got to think, like revenue per member goes way up if you're doing it right.
They bought you have to buy the heart rate monitor
Yep,
and all that.
yep.
They have a profit about 40 to 60, I think, on that.
That's amazing. They're and Orange Theory right now is growing like crazy.
They
I
just
mean, they're-
passed over 1,000 studios.
Yeah, they're one of I think are the fastest growing boutique studio right now. I think Core Power and
I think at 45's up there.
Yeah, 45 is a really big one, right?
Yeah.
It's really hot.
We work with that 45.
Yeah, for sure.
Orange Theory. So Dave Long, I interviewed Dave Long on the Goat Show.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to be taking that show and we're going to be kind of chopping it up and repurposing it and releasing it here on the GSD Show.
Oh, awesome.
So that's going to be coming up. So any of you guys want to know, that's when he just passed 800 members. Now they're over 1,000. So it was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool. All right, what else you got?
All right, square foot per member is 11 square feet per member. One thing that I was reading too, though, I mean, I'm really into boutique studios right now. I mean, personally, I use them all the time. But I think that boutique studios is where it's going to be moving forward because people who are going to boutique studios, you actually have to show up to actually be a part of the class. So you can have a smaller square footage because people normally have to use like Mindbody to check in, and you're capped. So you don't have people who are buying memberships and kind of sitting on them. They're actually using it and being a part of it. And then your cost per member is just way, way, way higher. I love it. Revenue per square foot on average is $62.77 per square foot, but that goes up, depending on what kind of business you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you. We're going to totally go side tangent now.
Okay, I love it.
But this is because I just remembered, and McKenna, I want you to B-roll right now the Seinfeld episode about the write-off. Just a quick snippet from the write-off.
Jerry, all these big companies, they write off everything. You don't even know what a write-off is. Do you? No, I don't.
Because no one knows what the hell a write-off is.
What's
They
a
think
write-off?
they do. Yeah. What's a write-off?
All right, fans.
Welcome back to the write-off love connection. So really quick, what is I know what a write-off is now.
Yeah.
I say now, it's been a couple years now, but I remember I was just saying it. Oh, just write it off. It's a
Yeah.
write-off. I had no idea what it was saying. So tell me what a write-off is.
So technically, it's an expense that's necessary and ordinary for the business. So things that you're going to need to spend for the business, you can spend company money. It goes on your profit and loss as an expense, and it reduces your overall income. So it reduces your net income in total. So you pay fewer dollars in taxes at the
So
end.
in reality, see, this is what I think a lot when I hear people talk about it. They think write-off like, oh, it's not going to cost me anything. It's a write-off.
No,
it's just
it
not
does
going to
cost you something. It
you're
leaves
just-
your company bank account, or you got to pay your credit card bill.
You just don't pay tax on that.
Yeah, and then
So if
certain
something costs
things-
you $100,
Yeah.
it may save you like $30 in taxes or something, right?
Right. So
Not
you're
even.
You said if it costs you $100,
Yeah.
you're going to save $30 in taxes?
Yeah, not even.
You save like $1 in taxes.
$1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically,
Or less.
It's a write-off meant you saved $1.
Yeah.
Instead of 99.
Yeah, and there's certain things that are going to be you can't write off over time. So
But not everything is equal in write-off.
Not everything is equal, yeah. So entertainment is actually going away completely
Which
over
I hate,
time.
and you know
I
that.
know, and I think entertainment is super important.
It is.
Just because you've got to be able to make a connection with your clients, and if you can't do it, it's really hard to do if you're teaching a 90-minute or 60-minute class. So you've got that time and that's it.
I feel like someone boring made that rule.
Yeah, well, I think so too.
How can you not pay for entertainment? Like
That's the Tax
that's such
Cuts
a
and Job
cost of
Act.
acquisition. It's an acquisition cost.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that law passed with our current. Yeah.
All right. So what can I get written off, and like when should I care about it? When is it that important? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so normal things that you write off are going to be cost of goods sold or cost of sale. Anything that it takes to actually sell your product or
course.
service, those are things that you can write off. Anything that's going to be operating expense, so paying your employees, paying taxes, workman's comp, paying rent, all those things are going to be a write-off. Things that you should be maybe not spending money on right now are going to be things that aren't totally necessary. So entertainment, while it is wonderful and I think it's a great expense, if you go overboard with it, you're not really getting the benefit of it on your tax return. That being said, if that means that you get 100 new clients in the door, who gives an F? You need to go spend that money to get the money in.
You know what she was going to say.
Fart.
All right. So moving on.
Yeah.
McKenna, look at McKenna. She can't take it.
Sorry.
She's like, grow up.
I can't.
I'm like
I have
12
the
years older
headphones
than
on.
her.
I can say anything.
I can say anything and it sounds cool with a
The
headset.
Accounting Bros Show.
Okay. What else we got?
All right, let's talk about some sexy retention numbers.
Okay, so retention. What are we looking at? How do you measure retention?
So retention is going to be anybody that's sticking with you over time.
Okay, so what's the average retention in the space?
71.3%.
71.3%. Okay, so the way I measure retention is I take all the members I started with in a month. So let's say I started with 100 members, right? These particular members, I'm using easy numbers. And let's say 8 of them paused. But I had 6 old members come back.
Right.
Right? So that means I'm at a 98% 98% retention rate. Yep, I'm at a 98% retention rate. So that's what it would mean, right? Because I lost 8, but then I had 6 come back, so total I lost 2, right? And then anybody that we add on, that doesn't count in this particular month. We now look at next month, okay, now we have 120 members with everything that we've gained and lost. So now we start with 120 this month. And now what did we lose? And then also how many old members that we already lost did we get to come back?
Right.
Yeah, so we're usually anywhere between a 96 to 99% retention rate. It's crazy, numbers out front.
That's pretty awesome.
Show you. But yeah, it's good. We have a lot of members that come back.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Just because they go pause on stuff. I don't recommend they pause, but they do. So is that the way that you recommend fitness studios do the same way? I mean, that's how I recommend it, but what do you think?
I recommend that as well.
Yeah. And
it's also important to note how long people are sticking around with you. And for gyms versus boutiques, 27% of people that are at a gym will stick around for 24 plus months, which, over time.
Boutique or a gym?
So the gym is 27%. Boutiques actually
27 months.
27% of people stay for
27%.
24 months or more. Boutiques lower, it's 11% of people stay for 24 plus months. The number actually climbs to 18% to stay for 12 to 23 months. But you really need to shoot for longevity with your clients because it doesn't cost you anything to keep them. It costs you to go out and get new clients.
Is 18% the highest bracket, or is there a bracket that's higher?
The bracket that is higher is 6 to 11 months. Stay for 25% of people stay from 6 to 11 months. So
That sounds about right.
If you can break past that, 6 to 11 months and go to 12, 23, or 24 plus, your revenue per member is going to go way higher because you're not spending additional funds on paying for advertising or anything like that. You don't have to worry about re-engaging people. I mean, you definitely do need to keep them happy, but that's going to make you profitable overall.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this too, guys, depends on who your demographic is. So like Rick Mayo, who's going to be coming on the show, he has about 24-month retention rate on average, but he targets people 45 and older.
Okay.
And so what we've actually noticed is internally with our research, People under the age of 21 stay for less than 3 months.
Okay.
People between 21 and 34 stayed for 7 months. 35 to 44 stayed for 11 months. And 45 and above stayed for 14 plus months.
Okay.
Or 14 and higher, so
Yeah.
who knows what that number actually was, right? Because it's hard to measure because they're still with you and the studios aren't yet that old.
Right.
So, and that's another thing too, right? Depending on how long you've been in business, like we were talking about earlier, like that can mess with your numbers or your trajectory. So for us, we're adding way more members per month over the last 6 months than we've ever added.
Yeah.
So it's dragging our number of.
It'll make you look like the time that people have been with you is a lot lower.
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
right now it says it's 7.64 months. We've
Yeah.
had a lot of people for 2-3 years, but we've had so many people sign on in the last like 6 months that they're bringing the average down.
For
so
sure.
it's something to pay attention to as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, what other numbers we got?
Oh man, let's take a look. Let's see. Customer acquisition cost.
Yes, that's actually a good one. So, and let's talk about what that means too.
So customer acquisition cost is the amount of money it actually takes to acquire a customer.
And what does that include?
So any of the funds it takes to acquire a customer would be all around sales and marketing, advertising. So any of your Facebook ads, Google ads, things like that. And then you're looking at how many new people are coming in the door. And so you're taking that cost, dividing by the people that are coming in the door. And on average, it is $98.66. And it changes depending on whether or not you're a big company or independent. But that's about $100 to $125 is pretty average.
Wow. And that includes also like if you give them stuff when they first sign on, whether it's like
giveaways and
T-shirts and all that stuff,
Yeah.
all that is a cost to acquire a customer.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, that's not bad.
That's not terrible, no.
That's not bad because when you're looking at the average member's worth over $700-800,
Yeah,
that's a great deal.
I'm thinking that's the low side.
and in boutique it's going to be much
That's
higher.
a lot higher. Yeah, boutique people at boutique gyms spend double what they spend at just like a big box gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and $98 is a great deal. And again, that also depends on the business too. If you have a really, really great offer and you're really great at sales, your cost per acquisition is going to be a lot less.
For sure. Like
Because-
your close rate's a lot higher.
Well, your close rate's higher, right?
Yeah.
So if I spend let's say $1,000 in marketing, and my neighbor spends $1,000 in marketing, and so that $1,000 each gets us, let's say, 200 leads. He gets 200, I get 200. If he's able to make 50 sales out of it, or if I'm able to make 50 sales and he's only able to make 20 sales out of it, my acquisition cost is more than double, or his acquisition cost is more than double mine.
Yeah, but think about it this way. So let's say that you have 50 new customers come in, they're spending money with you, and he has 20 new customers that are coming in and spending the same amount, and you keep them for half the time or less, he keeps the clients for a lot longer, then he's actually going to end up making more money than you. So it's important
So
that
the
you
trick is to be good at both sales, marketing, and retention.
Yeah, so they all kind of fit together. Yeah, you can't look at one side or the other. That's why I was talking before about people with a really myopic view. I'm making a ton of money, or I've got a certain amount of customers and I'm bringing in the door and I'm closing this many customers. And all the different puzzle pieces need to fit together. Otherwise, somebody who looks like they're successful on the outside is actually not as successful as somebody who maybe doesn't look as
You just
successful.
described Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
You just described Instagram's
Yeah.
entire business model.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying, you're even on the business side, it's very difficult because I talked to somebody today from one franchise that actually referenced another franchise, both boutique fitness studio franchises, and they said, yeah, I want to find a way to skip the sales side. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And I'm not kidding you, this truly happened. I'm not going to say who they were because it's embarrassing for them, but they're listening. I know because they watch the show.
Yeah.
But they said, I want to find a way to skip the sales side. I want to go right from marketing to signups.
Okay.
And I said, well, why would you want to do that? That's going cost you a lot more money to bring people in.
Yeah, you'll have a higher turn.
He's like, I want to be able to bring in members the same way this franchise does. And I go, they sell. I know because I work with them. I go, they sell. They have a huge sales process. And he goes, I went into a few of them, and as soon as I finished a trial, I just walked right out the door. And I was like, well, they didn't do good as an operator.
Yeah.
That operator dropped the ball. But it doesn't mean that entire franchise advocates that.
Yeah.
That's not what you're supposed to do. I know that because I dealt with the sales performance director at that franchise. That's not what happens. And then I showed him the training that they look, they've got it. So what he wanted to do was skip the sales process and be able to just close on the marketing because he sees that the franchise is growing as a whole.
Okay.
So he assumes the trick is not hire salespeople and just find a really great marketing plan that closes business skipping sales.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
What he doesn't realize is there's quite a few operators in not just that franchise, but all franchises that are going to be out of business soon or have to sell to a more successful franchisee to take it over because they're not making it. Because as an operator, they're not following the systems.
You know what he should have done is when he goes to those businesses and they don't try to sell them, just keep watching and buy their business.
He should. So, but that's like what you were saying, right? Like it looks on the outside, it looks like, wow, they're doing great. I should just do everything they're doing, but you don't know if they're crumbling on the inside.
No, I think that's a really big thing. You should be really mindful too of influencers and people who are showing that they're really successful on the outside. And I won't get too personal with you, but you know, you've been a client of mine for how many years? Like 2 or 3 years?
I feel like
4
almost
years?
4.
Yeah. And
I don't know, you're the numbers person.
I am, it's been a long time. And I was going to say earlier, like, you are loud rumor, but you're not flashy. You know, you're not going out like buying 1,000 cars and acting like a crazy person. Like you are very motivated and very on point with everything. Like you track your numbers, you make sure that everything is going to run exactly as planned. Like you are a man that makes action happen. But there are some people who are in the industry who are a little bit flashier and have, you know, just are kind of yelling a little bit louder, and they look like they're super successful. But working with them, knowing that they're not, that things internally, I know the numbers, internally they're crumbling. I'd be really, really mindful of who you believe on Instagram or on Facebook or Twitter, and actually pay attention to what people are actually doing rather than what they're saying. Because a lot of people can take a picture in a private jet or go out and look like they've got billions of dollars and they can't make payroll that month, you know, because they've made some really poor financial decisions. So props to you for being super motivated, on point, and then just driving the business forward because you are kicking butt.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about the income statement versus the balance sheet.
Right.
Because we know those are the two of the sheets inside the financial statement. So describe to me the balance sheet and what do I need to know about that?
So to start off, the income statement is going to be a view over time. So you can look at an income statement by month, by quarter, by year, and it's going to show you everything that's accumulated in those different accounts over the year. So how much do you spend in payroll this month, next month, or all the months combined? Balance sheet's going to be a point in time. So it's going to be
always point in time.
It's a point in time, yeah. It's a snapshot, really. So it shows you it shows you your assets, your liability, and equity versus your revenue and expenses, which are on the profit and loss.
Does your equity sit within, well, it doesn't sit within the assets column because it's not asset until you actually collect on the equity, right?
So assets and equity are different. Assets are going to be things that you own. Liabilities are things that you owe, and equity is going to be pretty much your financial stake in the business. So you know whether or not.
Oh, you mean equity within the business? I thought you meant equity within assets that you have.
Oh, no.
Like real estate or something like that.
And the profit and loss will influence the balance sheet because as you're making income, it actually increases your equity over time. If you lose money, it's going to decrease it over time as well. That's going to be operating profit or loss. And then so in the different sections, you've got, so first off is assets, and that's going to be things that you own, and they're going to be listed in order of liquidity. So cash is going to be something that's
savings
super
account.
liquid, yeah. And then next is going to be inventory. You can sell it, but it's not. It doesn't actually.
You don't know what you're going to get for it.
It represents money, but it's not actual.
And it's depreciating.
Money. Yeah, exactly. And then you've got bigger things like fixed assets. You've got buildings, or you've got cars that you're purchasing. So those are going to be things that you own, but will take time to actually liquidate. And then the next on your balance sheet is going to be your liabilities, and they're kind of listed the same way. So things that you need to pay right away and things that are long-term. So paying off things like credit cards or accounts payable. So things, bills that you owe to your vendors. Things that are going to be paid, further down the line are going to be your mortgage. So you're not going to pay your mortgage in full this year. You're going to pay it over 15 or 30 years. And then your equity is going to be all the different people who are in the business will have a line item in the equity section. So if there's a partnership, you'll have partner A and partner B, and it'll list all the contributions that they've made to the business, any of the deductions that they've made, so any draws that they've taken, and what that result is.
How do you measure or determine if your balance sheet is healthy?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways to do that. One of my favorite ratios is going to be your current ratio. And current ratio, talking more about like current assets, current liabilities, things that are very liquid, things that need to get paid right away. Current ratio is going to be current assets divided by current liabilities. So that's telling me how much money do I have to be able to pay the bills that I
So if I have $1 million in assets and I have 500,000 liabilities, I have a 2-to-1 ratio.
Right, yeah. And 1-to-1 means that you have exactly the amount
You're
of money
balanced.
that's
It's 100% blanked out.
Everything is spoken for.
Yeah. But you want a higher ratio on the assets.
You want a higher ratio, yeah. So industry average, let's just look down here in my fancy notes. Overall, it's 1.5. So for every dollar that I owe, I have $1.50 to spend.
Is that healthy?
That's healthy, but you really want to have a little bit more than that. I mean,
what would you recommend is healthy for the fitness studio space?
I mean, really, like anything above that. So 2 would be great, but there's going to be a cap. If you've got like 15-to-1, like you've got $15 for every $1 that you owe, that means that you're probably not using your money wisely. So you need to go out and reinvest in the business.
Spend money.
So it's not bad to spend money. I mean, it's good to have it for
you
sure.
You have to spend money.
You have to spend money to make money for sure.
Yeah, or you can spend creativity too. But if you have money,
you should be investing it in
you
the
can add
business.
that to your creativity. I mean, it's great to be able to spend 13 times more on your creativity than just 1 times more in your creativity.
Yeah. So going out and like if you've got extra money, building a podcast room is pretty cool. Like that's a really good investment. Going out and buying a fancy car just because you want it on the business's dime, probably not the best investment.
Our conference where we gather all the studio owners in one spot.
That costs money, but that brings money back in like a millionfold. I mean, it's a great investment in the business. So you really need to strategically think about where that money needs to go, and don't get into the view of like more money in the bank is better, because it's just sitting there, and it's also you're losing money over time, especially with inflation.
Right.
Yeah.
So guys, really quick, because I'm going to dive into a couple more things, but if right now your head's spinning, the reason it's spinning is because this is probably new to you. My head's not spinning. I'm staying with you, but the stuff that we talk about is stuff that I've already. It used to make my head spin a lot.
Yeah.
But
that's
it's like
normal.
anything. Well, it's like anything though. Like you talk to one of your members.
Yeah.
Let's say that has never ever looked at the back of a box to see the nutritional facts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right, and then you start talking to them about carbs and saturated fat and trans fat, and then you talk to them about sugar, and you say what's good, and then you start breaking down like, well, 1 gram of fat is like 9 calories, and and 1 gram of carbs is like 4 calories, and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's confusing as hell to them. But when you talk to another fitness person, it's been even studying it for a little bit, they can catch on a little faster. So if your head's spinning, that's a good sign that you're probably
thinking.
Well, it's a good sign that you're thinking, but it's also a good sign that you're probably needing to spend a little more time reading about this stuff. And just like, if you want to learn Spanish fast, what do? You drop your ass in Spain. And then figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So same thing, drop yourself in your financial spreadsheet or your financial statements and, start looking at reading some more stuff. If you guys don't already have access to it, I know a ton of fitness studios now have access to it, but go to loudroomervt.com. Like, go there, because you've got an entire training and it's all broken up. Like, here's the difference. Here's an income statement, and here's the balance sheet. And here's what you should be looking at for salary cap, and here's this, and here's that, and here's this. And it was like a bunch of videos that we made on how to
digestible pieces too.
Like here's a video, and then there's quizzes after to make sure you understand the information, or your partners, or your team, or whoever you want to take certain quizzes. But I definitely recommend, that's a good starting point, because it's not just information about financials, but it's information about financials in the fitness studio space. And then, of course, exploring and reading other books. I don't know what books you recommend, but I like, the Greg Crabtree book. I don't know if you ever read it. Straight Numbers, Big Profits, Straight Talk, or something like that.
No, you had recommended a
Simple
few other
Numbers,
ones.
Big Profits, Straight Talk.
Okay.
And then Financial Intelligence was a good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good book. But do you have any books that you personally recommend for small business owners?
Have a great book for small business owners right now. We were talking.
Tough.
I know
There's not really a lot that are like easy to understand and follow. That's why I wanted to create that thing with you.
Yeah, I know for sure. I think the best resource is really watching the videos on VRT,
LRVT.
LRVT.
Guys, make sure you go there, and also you gave a great talk at GSDCON. If you guys weren't at GSDCON, just go to loudroomer.com, reach out to us, and we'll show you how you can get access to Tina's talk as well.
Yeah. And I do free consultations for anybody, especially for Loud Roomer clients. I spend a ton of time talking about like what's working, what's not working. And
That's awesome.
And I think that's a big difference between us and somebody who, I've been an accountant for 1 million years, and now I'm the salesperson in the business. A lot of times people that are salespeople don't really understand the accounting and don't think about like in systems, or they don't think in ratios. They're just trying to sell the client, and I think we're more consultative. When we also don't charge anything for emails, phone calls, video calls once you're a client.
That's good.
And I really, really push that, because if you're getting started and you want to be successful and you don't feel good about the numbers, there's going to be a lot of roadblocks for you. And so if I could just take the idea of like the meter running whenever you're calling your accountant away, and make it a free-flowing conversation that you can pick up the phone anytime and call your accountant and feel like you really get it. I mean, you're going to be way more successful than somebody who's not going to pick up the phone or just doesn't want to make that phone call at all.
And I know you've gotten quite a few people from us, right?
Yeah, we've gotten a few. I think that I've had a lot of people ghost us.
Yeah, because they're scared.
I think it's a lot
because
of
they don't
fear,
understand it, right? It's the same reason a member might ghost the fitness studio. It's like they went in there and it's overwhelming, and it doesn't seem. I don't want to have time for it. It's not you don't have time for it.
That's really two things: is time, because they're spending too much money running the business and not working on the business, and the other is fear, because you don't want to feel like you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and you're afraid of what you don't understand.
Yeah, and we don't judge. I mean, I've seen the best, I've seen the worst, I've seen in between. I don't care about where you are right now, as long as we can help you get to where you want to be. Like you can be upside down and everything's not going so great. If we can make a plan of action, then you'll have a roadmap for success. But if you're unwilling to talk about it, you're never going to be able to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and they have the time. See, here's the thing. If you straight up, and I know because I've tested this, if you straight up ask a fitness studio owner, what kind of TV do you like to watch? What are your favorite shows? They all say the same thing. I don't watch any TV. I don't have time for TV. But if you say something like, hey, did you watch Game of Thrones? They're all like, oh, yeah. Or if you say something like, hey, you watch Black Mirror, or you watch this, they're all like, oh, yeah. You'll all of a sudden.
Well, there's an hour.
There you go.
Or binge watching.
The average Netflix user watches 10 hours a week of Netflix. That's public info.
Crazy.
10 hours a week. 10 hours a week.
That's a lot of hours.
So for fitness studio owners, think about that. When your members say they don't have time, or your prospects say they don't have time, they have time to come and work out 3 times a week and still watch 7 1-hour series a week.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
That's insane.
Tina, thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Is there anything I missed?
Oh, man. I don't know. I really just want to say one thing. We talked a little bit about fear, but you got to get over it. Like I'm scared of a lot of things, and that doesn't stop me from doing stuff. You just have to push past it, and you're not going to become a financial expert over time. It's going to be little tiny chunks. You're going to learn something new every single day, and you're going to build your skill over time. And where you're going to be now with your financial intelligence versus where you are in a year or 2 years or 3 years is going to be vastly different. But if you never take that step, you'll never get there. And we talked about before, 50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. You making an investment in this business and to your people, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your community, and to your people to succeed.
I'm going to make the explosion. Ready right now.
1, 2, 3.
All right,
And
Tina.
that's when you learn accounting.
Oh, thank you for tuning in to Accounting Kiss FM.
Get real.
Tina, thanks so much. I appreciate it. You're a rock star as always. And guys, please, I'm serious. Get on loudrumorvt.com. Go through our trainings. It's been incredible. I know a lot of clients that are using you. They love what you're doing. I love what you're doing.
I love working with them. You send me amazing people.
That's
for
good.
Sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, guys, for everyone watching, for everyone listening, we will see you next week. Thanks for watching. If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, or YouTube. And to watch more episodes and get exclusive links from each episode, go to GSDShow.com. Again, that's GSDShow.com.